Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of Andrewsfootball.com. If you're new to my channel, there's this little button right down here. It's that little subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that button. Scientifically proven to make all your wildest dreams come true. Here's the drill here. I break down all 32 teams before the preseason starts. I break down what I like, what I don't like, but stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to break down how they're going to do against the Vegas over-under, the Vegas spread for the year, and if you should bet on the New York Giants. So I'm going to jump right in here. What do I like about the Giants? Well, first thing obvious is that they got the best running back in football. That's Saquon Barkley. Here, I'm going to bring up some numbers here. 1,307 yards, averaged 5 yards a carry, 11 touchdowns, was the team's leading receiver, had 91 receptions for 721 yards and 4 touchdowns. Little quick math here, 15 touchdowns, over 2,000 total yards. Saquon Barkley, the thing is, though, is that he's a threat to score anytime he's on the field. He had a 78-yard touchdown run, a 57-yard touchdown reception. This is a guy, no matter where he is on the field, he's a threat to score. But unlike a lot of guys who are a threat to score, he's 230 plus. I mean, and for those of you who don't know, at Penn State, he set almost every single weightlifting record they have. So this is a very powerful running back who can score from anywhere on the field. He's a phenomenal receiver. He's a world-class athlete. I can sit here and I can talk for an hour about all the positives about Saquon Barkley. Here's a huge number, though. 322 touches, 0 fumbles. I mean, I think that this is possibly... I think he's the best running back in football. I think this is a generational type talent. If injuries don't curtail or shorten his career, this will probably be the best running back in the 20s, destined to go into the Hall of Fame, probably one of the top running backs of all time. I think when everything's said and done, unless injuries rob him of his career, this will be one of the greatest running backs, if not top 5 running back that ever lived. That's a discussion for another day. But speaking of Barkley, the second thing I like about the New York Giants is their offensive skill position talent. Even take away Barkley, you got Evan Ingram on this team, and Evan Ingram really maybe the best athlete at tight end in the NFL. At the combine, he weighed 236, ran a 4.40, probably the fastest NFL tight end, or one of the fastest, but possibly the best athlete. Towards the end of the season, he really started to flourish. 3 out of 4 final games of the season, Ingram was the leading receiver. This is a guy who's just got a ton of potential. He's had some problems with injuries, kind of really just a bulked up wide receiver. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's used this year. But this is a guy who's just got a world of potential. Then you got Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard. These are phenomenal run after the catch receivers. One little side note, I'm going to give you 2 little side notes here. Cody Lattimore, this is a guy I was really high on in Indiana, had some injury issues in Denver. Really good athlete, could get cut, could resurrect his career, but as far as pure athlete, this is a really, really good athlete. And then also I thought it was interesting, Reggie White Jr., Reggie White's son, is a wide receiver for the New York Giants. He may get cut, but I thought it was kind of interesting. But I really like the talent at the skill position for the New York Giants. It's really elite. And the third thing I like about the New York Giants is their offensive line improvement. What they did is during the offseason, they traded for Kevin Zeitler. He's going to play right guard. Then they signed Mike Remmers, free agent from Minnesota, who's going to play right tackle. So you got 2 new players on the right side. When I watched the Giants last year, I saw a horrible offensive line. So you made massive changes in that. Will Hernandez was a rookie last year. He's going to be a much, much better player this year. Nate Soldier had some injury issues. I never thought he was a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle, but they gave him a lot of money. And towards the end of the year, he started playing pretty good on the left side. I expect this offensive line, let's just say they didn't even add any players just from injuries alone. I think they're down to like their 4th string center. I got a phone call to play center for them. No, I'm just kidding. But they had so many injuries. Let's just say they stay healthy, or at least healthy by NFL standards, or our average injuries by an NFL offensive line. They would be vastly improved. But instead of just saying, hey, we're going to try to stay healthy, they added 2 new players. So that's something I think was really, really a huge positive for the New York Giants. And then the fourth thing I like about the Giants. I had to go back do some research, but they've been running a 4-3 since 1993. So they brought over James Bettcher, former defensive coordinator for the Cardinals. He runs a 3-4 scheme. This was their first time being in a 3-4 since 1993. So for those, a lot of people are going to say, well, there's not that much of a difference because you play mostly nickel. That is true. It's not as big as it used to be, but it's still huge because your base personnel is still the same. And bottom line, the NFC East, the Giants are a running team. The Redskins, when they're at their best, they have a really good running game. Keep in mind, they got Hall of Fame running back, plus a guy in Darius Geis. A guy should have gone in the first round. But bottom line, they're going to be a good running team. Yes, I'm aware the Eagles won a Super Bowl without a solid running game. Actually, it was not bad. But bottom line, the NFC East is always traditionally and probably always will be a division won by running the ball and stopping the run. So switching defenses to the 3-4, they really added a lot of personnel. They added two current former Arizona players are listed as starters. Markus Golden currently is not listed as a starter as an outside linebacker. It's Lorenzo Carter, guy who I'm really high on, should have a bigger impact this year. But bottom line, after you've been 3 decades in one scheme, switching schemes, I think giving him at least a second off season to get the personnel needed. Like I say, he brought in 3 former Cardinals, so I really think that that's going to be a huge addition to the Giants. So just kind of to recap what I like about the Giants, you have the best running back in football. You have really, really top-notch skill position players, including Barkley. You got offensive line help. In my eyes, I thought that the offensive line talent, or the offensive line, was the weakness of this team. If I'd say one thing was wrong with the New York Giants last year, I said offensive line. I watched that offensive line play. It looked horrible. It might have been one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen in my life. So you made improvements in that offensive line during the offseason. And finally, what I like is that it's your second straight season going into a 3-4, second straight offseason adapting personnel after being 3 decades in a 4-3. So I think Bettcher has now the players and personnel to really succeed in this season. I think the defense is going to be much improved. Keep in mind, they didn't have a zero technique. So in the 17th pick in the draft, Dexter Lawrence, he's going to play that zero technique. A thing I really like is that he's the only player in the draft who could actually play a zero technique. Then you can line him up in a 3 technique and say, go get the passer. He's probably the only player I think that's versatile enough to do both of those. But the one change that when you go from a 4-3 to a 3-4, all the positions are pretty versatile, but you don't have a zero technique. You don't have a guy who can take that double team inside. You don't have a guy who commands the center guard attention. Now you do. So that's those are the 4 things I'm really, really high on for New York Giants. Now, what I don't like, what is the direction of this team? I mean, number 6, you draft a quarterback. Okay, more than likely he's not going to play at all this year. They're going to follow the blueprint of sitting him for a year, letting him learn. I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but I've heard lots of arguments say he's won 2 Super Bowls. So he's had an excellent NFL career. So you're going to sit behind Eli Manning for this year. You're not going to play at all. You draft Dexter Lawrence. This is a building block player. This is a guy who's going to help you this year, but basically you're kind of building for that 3-4 defense. And keep in mind, he didn't play a zero technique at Clemson. So you're asking him to play a brand new position, and you're asking him to be the focal point of that defense. Well, maybe focal point's a bad word, but bottom line, that zero technique, that's an extremely physical, it's a tough position. It's something he didn't play at Clemson. So, you're drafting a building block. So your first 2 picks are for the future. I'm looking at the Giants thinking, okay, well, you're building pieces and you're getting ready for 2020. Makes sense. Then you give up the 37th, the 132nd, which is the 4th pick, and the 142nd, which is the 5th round pick, to trade up the 30 for DeAndre Baker. Now, here's the thing. If I was in win now mode, I would love that Baker, because Baker, in my opinion, when I was breaking down the corners if I needed a corner to step in day one and play, it's DeAndre Baker, because he won the Jim Thorpe Award for best defensive back in college football, played at Georgia, so he played against NFL type competition in the SEC. So this is a guy who can step in day one and can help you. But here's the thing, if you're trading up, you're giving up 3 picks for one. So a guy can help you today. But your 6th pick and your 17th pick in the first round are for the future. Here's the thing, and this is something not everybody knows, but NFL executives know in order to win in the NFL, you got to win the middle rounds 3, 4, and 5. Well, you just gave up the 37th pick, a 4th round pick, and a 5th round pick. Now, here's the thing. After pick 37, 39, you get Sean Bunting, corner out of Central Michigan. 40 was Trayvon Mullen, corner out of Clemson. Joe John Williams, corner out of Vanderbilt, was available at 45. Greedy Williams, who was my number 1 corner, available at 46. Now a little later, Lonnie Johnson Jr. At 54. But bottom line, was Baker that much higher rated than all of those guys? You also had Byron Murphy at 33, Rock Yassin at 34. I mean, let's say you waited till 37, you could have maybe got one. Was he that much better that you had to give up a 4th and a 5th? I mean, if you're building for the future, build for the future. But this is a win now. This is a win now move. Hey, we need to help the secondary today. We need to help the secondary right now. So you go ahead and you do this by sacrificing draft capital. You're helping now. Now, keep in mind, if Baker ends up being a Pro Bowl caliber corner and all these guys are bums, and hey, that's a great move. But I look at that move as a win now move. But your first 2 picks are for the future. So what are you doing? It looks like you're waiting for 2020, and then you do this. I'm really confused. So that's the number 1 thing I don't like about the Giants. Second thing is your pass rush was bad last year. You had 30 sacks. Your leading pass rusher was Vernon. He had 7 sacks, and you traded him. Now, you got some players from Arizona who are going to help you. Keep in mind, you got now you're going to start Kareem Martin, according to Owl Lads. He's going to start, Antoine Bethea. He's a safety. He's probably not going to get a lot of sacks. Markus Golden, he's a pretty good player. Keep in mind Lorenzo Carter is going to help get some sacks this year. But you're in a division with Prescott and Wentz. Both these quarterbacks are Pro Bowl quarterbacks. Both these guys are really good. And then you got Jersey native and Haskins, who's going to start for the Redskins sooner or later, and he threw for a gajillion touchdowns in college. So, you're in a division with now I'm calling Haskins a good quarterback, even though he hasn't played it down in the NFL, but you're in a division with 3 really good quarterbacks. You had a bad pass rush. You gave up your best pass rusher. I don't think you did enough. Pass rushers are really key in this division. I did my last video, and I was like, Justin Houston, Justin Houston would have been a perfect fit for this defense. He would instantly improve your pass rush, and you didn't go in that direction. So I'm a little worried about the Giants' pass rush, actually more than a little. It's I think, a big hole. Third thing I don't like is you had 10 draft picks, and you traded 2, actually 3 for 1, and your biggest problem on this team was your offensive line. You draft a quarterback at 6, and then you only get a guard in round 7. All right, this was a pretty good draft for offensive linemen, especially late. You could have picked up some more players. You get a franchise caliber quarterback, and yeah, you got some free agent help, but why not draft a player or 2? I was a little confused about that. If you draft a quarterback, make sure he's healthy. No quarterback can throw a football laying on his back. And yeah, you got some guys in free agency, but if you draft a quarterback at number 6, make sure he's healthy. I don't know if they did enough for that. The final thing I don't like about the Giants is look at the division you're in. The Cowboys and the Eagles are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. And keep in mind, the Giants have a pretty good franchise. They don't have to make the playoffs this year, but if you get double-digit losses, multiple people in this organization are going to get fired. 5-6 wins is not good enough for New York Giants. I really think that they need to be somewhere around closer to 500. I'd say 7 or 8 wins. Realistically, but they don't have to make the playoffs. But I think that the organization is expecting that, considering the big trades that they made this offseason. And speaking, before I get to advanced class, I do want to touch base on the Odell Beckham Jr. trade. I'm the only person that's going to tell you I think they won this trade. And the reason why I think they won this trade is that he was a disgruntled wide receiver. He clashed with front office. He wasn't happy there. Look at Antonio Brown. He wasn't happy. He forced a trade. And what did the Steelers get in return? A third and a fifth. The Giants, on the other hand, get a number 1 and a number 3, and they get a former first-round pick in Peppers, who's a really good player. And the thing is, though, Peppers fills a need. You lost Landon Collins. He got $84 million from a divisional rival. You needed to replace him. Instead of using a draft pick, you already get a former number 1 to go ahead. And keep in mind, Odell Beckham Jr., he's not the best offensive player on the Giants. Saquon Barkley is. That's the guy you're building your team around. You got 2 really good receivers. You got an extremely athletic tight end. Here's the thing. If you didn't have a problem with Odell Beckham Jr., okay, I'm talking front office. From what I've heard, most of his teammates liked him, got along with him, etc., but he clashed with the front office. If Antonio Brown didn't force a trade and the Steelers only end up with a third and a fifth, then it's not a good move. But here's the thing. You're in an era where a player like Odell Beckham can force a trade, just like Antonio Brown did. And instead of getting a third and a fifth, you get a number 1, a former number 1, and a third-round pick. And the first and the third, and the first, all 3 of these guys are helping your defense, which you've been running with defense since 1993 one way. You're switching, so you need players. So get rid of a disgruntled player, and you get 3 players who are going to help you build your new defense. So I do like this move, even though most people don't. So now let's get to the advanced class here. This is the money-making part of class. If you stuck around to this part, I'm going to help you make some money, because this is a good team to put action on. The over for the Giants is over-under is 6. If you bet over, it's plus 110. That means a $100 wager will win you $110, but action's on the under because it's negative 130, meaning you have to wager $130 to win 100. This means that this could drop to 5.5, but I don't think it will. I actually think it'll stay at 6. And here's the thing. I love this team. I love this team at 6. Take over 6. You're getting more money on your investment. Every 100 will win you 110. So let me just break down the schedule, okay? Let's say you lose both games against you lose both games against Cowboys, you lose both games against the Eagles, so 0-4. But you sweep the Redskins. Realistic that you're 2-4. Okay? You only need 4 wins for a push. Let me see here. Home against Buffalo. Okay. Home against Arizona. At the New York Jets, is that really a road game? Okay, I could see a win there. Home against Miami in December. I just got you 4. Third week of the season at Tampa Bay. All right, did I just get 7? And that's going 2-4 in the division. So let's say you go 2-4 in the division, which is plausible. 1 win here, 1 loss there. Okay, let's just say you go 2-4 in the division. Home against Buffalo, at Tampa Bay, home against Arizona, at the New York Jets, home against Miami in December. That's 7-9. And there's some other games in here that they realistically could win. I mean, they really could. So, but I look at this team. I see a 7-8 win team, possibly 9 if the offensive line's solid enough. Then I actually think that this team will be much improved than they were last year. This is a 5-11 team last year. Keep in mind too, when you look at this team last year, how many losses were less than a touchdown? You got 5-point loss here, first week of the season. At Carolina's a 2-point loss, 3-point loss at Atlanta, 4-point loss at San Francisco. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a win here. 3-point loss at Philly. Last 2 games of the season, 1-point losses. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losses by less than a touchdown. Then you got 2 losses by a touchdown. So this team lost a lot of close games. Keep in mind, you had a brand new defensive system and massive, unprecedented type injuries among the offensive line. So I'm really high on the Giants. I actually think that they're going to compete for a wild card spot. I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up just coming short. But this is a team I think is really going to be close to 500. So if you want a good team to invest in, I would strongly suggest taking over 6 for New York Giants. So listen, if you're a subscriber to Andrews Football, you already know you're one of the greatest people on planet Earth. All your wildest dreams are going to come true. But if you're new to my channel, I got some of my playlists right here. Check out some of my content. I got some really great stuff here. And by the way, there's the subscribe button right down here. I told you about. Blew it up so you can see it a little better. But check this out and bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. I'm going to have fun this weekend, but Monday I'm going to break down the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'll see you Monday.